shout out, even though he seems to be creating some issues here and there and not getting things fixed. Producer Wes seems to be doing a good job most days, but this morning he messed up the camera. So, yep. Thanks, Wes, for all you do. Appreciate that very much. You and I have crossed paths this morning because of the reality that God loves us and because he knows that through interacting with each other that we actually become better people. As iron sharpens iron, so does one sharpen another. And I am thankful for those who have sharpened my life and helped my life be a better life because of their helping my maturity and growth. Now, before I get to the question of the day, I want to take a moment and say a little Yahoo again. Yes, sirree, the Detroit Tigers are still hot, still the best record in Major League Baseball. Closest team has 46 wins. The Tigers are 48-28. Yay, Tigers. Go for it, man. And, of course, those of you who are local don't give a care about the Tigers. The Cubs are atop their division by 5.5 games. This must be a good year. Now, if you're not sure what today's date is, welcome to the 20th day of June, 2025. And yes, I'm assuming that since you were watching this morning, you survived last Friday, Friday the 13th. With that said, let's jump right into the question for today. And I can say is an interesting question. You may find yourself saying, boy, I didn't know this really mattered. But as we realize asking the question is kind of interesting, that some weeks I get 10 answers and some weeks I get one answer. So, hey, go for it. I'd love to have more than 10 answers in 1 week. All right, here's the question. Sleep is one of the necessities of life, and without it, we crash. As a matter of fact, we'll crash for sure. Now, tell me, what is your normal bedtime? And how long or how many hours of sleep do you get at night? My normal bedtime is about 10 o'clock. I kind of push or go back and forth a little bit. Usually turn the corner about 9:30, 9:45, head towards getting things together and finalizing the day and getting ready to go to bed. So tell me, what is your normal bedtime and what time do you, or how many hours of sleep do you get a night? I normally get up between 4:30 and 5 o'clock in the morning on most mornings. I don't normally get up. I wake up about 4:30, 4:45. I usually get up after a little bit after 5 o'clock, just kind of lay around and hit the snooze button a little bit. So you probably never hit the snooze button, but if you have, you can include that in your comments as well, all right? So today I want to talk to you about something that is probably very common for all of us. It's probably something that we all share at one time or another, and that is the reality of being tired. Kind of fits the question a little bit. When I go, you'll find out not as much. Now, not the go to sleep type of tired, not the sleep that is, necessary. Getting tired because you didn't sleep and you've been up too much. The tired I'm talking about is the relational tired. The times when no matter how hard you try, you are just pretty much tired of the way other people act. You've been in a conflict, you've been in some situation watching the news, and you just wonder what the people on earth are even up to. As a matter of fact, sometimes you just get so tired of people. Humans can be hard to understand and hard to love. And occasionally, sometimes more often, they can actually be hard to be around. So today, I want to pack this into your heart, or maybe you need to pack it in for some tomorrow, that you can reach back and you can really kind of use, look at, and employ what I'm going to talk about, all right? So 5 things, one for each of the letters in tired, T-I-R-E-D. 5 things that can help you when you're trying to deal with relational tiredness. So let's just jump in. First is this, the T, take time away. Probably one of the things that we do, and especially today in our modern generation with all of our technology, is we seem to go at a couple thousand miles an hour. I used to say a couple hundred miles an hour, but that's in the past. Today it's a couple thousand miles an hour. For all I know, in another 5 years, it'll be in the 10s and 20,000 miles per hour. We don't seem to be slowing down. And because we're not slowing down, and because we're always relating with people, maybe always interacting with people, never taking time just to relax and rest, Because of that, and you say, well, I don't see people all the time. Yes, you do. You pick your phone up all the time. You're always engaging with people in some way or another, through Facebook, through Instagram, through X, through Reddit, through Snapchat, whatever. So as a result, you're really not having any time away. When I talk about taking time away, I'm talking about taking time away. It doesn't have to be for a long period of time. It can be an hour. I recommend to take a day every so often. And in fact, I actually recommend that you take a couple of days. Find some place where you can be alone for a day, sleep in that place, maybe like in a cabin somewhere, and take sort of a mini sabbatical, you might say. A friend of mine was talking about him taking a mini sabbatical this past week. What an amazing thing you can do if you just take some time to rest. Just take some time to rest. Get away. Take time away. Elijah in the Old Testament was worn out after he had conflict with the prophets of Baal. And then along comes Jezebel, and she threatens his life, and he falls all to pieces. You can find that in 1 Kings 18, 1 Kings 19. And so Elijah, all wore out, he goes out and sleeps under a juniper tree. Some versions say a broom tree. And there he finds himself needing some physical needs met. An angel shows up and feeds him and tells him basically to move along. He moves along, and the next time you see him, he's in a cave as God deals with his struggle. He sleeps, he eats, he recovers a little bit, and then God shows up and speaks to his heart. He got him in a place where he could speak to his heart. You see, when you're tired of people, when you're tired emotionally, it's hard to hear God speak. When you're not taking care of yourself, it's hard to hear God speak. You say, does God speak to you verbally? No. Matter of fact, I have found that God speaks to me through his word and through the writings of other people concerning what God says in his word. And through that, and what I have to say is the work of the Holy Spirit then helps me to kind of process that, whatever I'm reading and however it applies to my life, and begin to find a way to incorporate it into my life. Taking time away will help you to hear God's voice, will help you to incorporate things that are beneficial for your spiritual life and actually for your physical and relational life. Allow your body and mind to rest. In Elijah's case, he was actually struggling right after a big victory, and that can happen when you have a big emotional day. The second day after, or the first or second day after, can really be really down. So you know if you're going into something big, always take time in the day after something big. Some big project you've been working on for months. When it's completed, take a day or two and relax. Decompress. Debrief. Let it go. Allow your body and mind to rest. As a result of Elijah's fatigue of being and dealing with people, as a result of that, and because of the way he handled it, God unfortunately replaced him. And sometimes that can happen. You get so tired you have to be replaced because you're not taking care of yourself. You're not taking time away. You may find yourself in that place today. I'm telling you, at this particular stage, find a way. Carve some time out. Go walk in nature. Go sit on a stump someplace. Go sit on the edge of a dock and let your feet set in the water. Do nothing. Do nothing. And every time your mind starts to race, turn the engine off. I know it's hard sometimes. Believe me, I have a very active mind. Sometimes it's weird how active it is. And yet, when I get away and I stop all the stimulation, it helps my mind to slow down, and I find time to get away, let go, and relax. So the first thing is take time away. Secondly, include others in your burden. What I mean by that is you don't want them to go with you as you go away for the day. What you want to do is make sure what is behind you is taken care of. Find someone who can pick up some of the things you're doing, and they can do them while you're gone so you don't have them on your mind. You know that can be taken care of because you've bothered to share that burden with someone else, and they have bothered to step up and help you actually deal with it by letting you have time away. Something else you can do is ask others to pray. Ask others to pray. Ask others to help you find ways to get away. Maybe someone you know has a cabin. Maybe someone you know has a place on the lake, or they have some place you can go. And as a result of being able to kind of share with them, they tell you, hey, yeah, go use the place for a day. Go use the place for a few days. Hey, stick out there for 4 or 5 days or a week. I've had friends that have done that for me. Times that I can go, that I can relax, and they have allowed me to use some of their property to be able to relax in another state or in another city. And I am blessed by those who care so much for me that they have shared their life and their goods, their property with me. So share this with other people. But let me warn you about something real quick about sharing. Some of us share, and as a result of sharing, we actually become whiners. So let me just warn you, don't whine. When you're a whiner, it's hard to love you. It's hard to put up with you. And you don't want to be the cause for someone else being tired of people. So don't whine. If you got to be able to release and talk, whatever, that's fine. But don't whine. If they're going to help you, you must be careful not to overshare. Do not become an EGR. EGR is a phrase we use oftentimes. It's called extra grace required. Don't become one of those EGRs, okay? So first of all, take time away. Secondly, include others in your burden. Third, rehearse God's faithfulness. This can really be a key to helping you get through a tired period. When people have worn you out, you can rehearse God's faithfulness because you know in the past that God has helped you deal with how you love other people. God has helped you with men and women in your life who have worn you out. Maybe getting away, maybe getting separate, maybe taking time off, maybe even separating your life from a person who you can no longer be around. But look at how God has been faithful when you practice the right relationship building, the right relationship principles. Look at how God has been faithful in the past. And one of the things that's helped me in my work, in my life, is that as I've grown more mature, and unfortunately I've grown with more years on my birthdays. As my body has gotten older, my brain has gotten more accustomed to rehearsing where God has been faithful before. And so when I'm struggling with where we're at financially, if I'm struggling where we're at emotionally, whenever I think to myself, you know what? I have endured this before with God's help. He is faithful. And since you've seen God's faithfulness in the previous situations, you can lean on him. And you can see him work in your life and the life of others. Lean into the faith that others are showing. Maybe you can rehearse God's faithfulness in someone else's life. But when you rehearse God's faithfulness, whether in good times or bad times, you're actually exercising and growing your faith in the character of God himself. You're actually becoming more confident in who God is by trusting and know that he is doing what's best in your life and that he wants to conform you to his Son so you can live in faith and live more faithfully. So take time away. Say, Billy, keep repeating these. I want you to drill these in your brain. Take time away. Include others in your burden. Rehearse God's faithfulness. And then E, engage truth at every juncture. Let me say a couple of things about truth. Number one, you need to engage God's truth when you're dealing with what other people are like. See, here's what you think, and here's what the problem can be. And I've done this for sure, okay? Is to tell someone all about how you've been hurt by another person, or how bad the other person is, or how uncaring they are, or how unloving they are, not realizing that in reality, somewhere along the way, somebody is saying the exact same things about you. And so you have been the person who has hurt. And oftentimes when we get hurt and we're down, we forget that we hurt others. We forget that we cause trouble. We forget those things, and I don't understand why. It just seems to be human nature. We have a tendency to look at other people's stuff and not see our own. That's why Jesus said, Matthew recorded in chapter 7, take the log out of your own eye, and then you'll see clearly to bother even with the speck in your brother's eye. Engage the truth. When you engage the truth, you make sure that you are anchored to God's truth, which is his scripture. Here's a couple of truths for tired souls that will set you free. Number one, forgive regularly. You see, by forgiving regularly, it doesn't take the other person off the hook for what they've done. You can still set boundaries up, but you can let go of the anger and the struggle in your own heart. You can let go of what begins to be bitterness if you don't let go of it sooner. You can let go of the emotions that come out of that if you're willing to forgive and let go of what has hurt you. Let go of the people who you're allowing to control your heart, mind, and being, and actually sometimes your very behavior, all because you won't let it go and forgive. The second truth that will help tired people become free is stop being offended all the time. We as Christians, we're just fickle. Maybe this is where I get tired at sometimes, okay? I get tired of people that get offended all the time. I think to myself, can you not relax ever? Good night. Come on. We get our noses turned up and we get our noses all bent out of shape over all sorts of things every time you turn around. Let me see if I can flesh this out. Remember the old statement, a leopard never changes its spots? Well, so what you're actually saying is this. Listen to me. When you say a leopard never changes spots, when you think you are right and someone else is wrong, and you think you have whatever you think you have, and you think someone else is sure lacking it. Sometimes you think you have wisdom and someone else is lacking it, or you have intelligence and someone else is lacking it. And you're thinking they'll never change. Here's what you're saying when you say a leopard will never change its spots when you're talking about another human. What you're saying is that God can never, ever forgive what someone else has done, nor has God ever changed someone else's life. And he can't change people's lives, and I stand in judgment of them that God cannot, and therefore they make me tired. So I'm just offended by them. My gracious. I see this in the world of politics all the time. All the time. We talk about this, and I want to say it, and I know it just feels like it's never going to happen, but I got to hold out hope. Do you think we could ever have a conversation? For crying out loud, could we ever just have a conversation? Instead of being angry at someone from another party, someone from another denomination, someone from another neighborhood, someone of a different skin color, instead of having all this trash built up, wouldn't it be nice if you didn't get offended all the time and pack your life full of trash? Because when you're offended, you're packing your life full of trash. Offendedness, being offended all the time, it is absolutely basically a forgetting of God's ability to change life and ability to turn life around. And can I be a little bit bold here? Why do you expect people who have never conformed, accepted, or decided to live by the standards of Christ? Why do you expect those people to live any other way? You didn't live a godly life before you come to know Christ. You did things that you should not have done. You have had to have God work on things in your life. And so what makes you think that people who are sinners would not act like sinners? What makes you think that people who are on drugs or involved in some type of addiction or involved in some type of poor behavior, maybe they've had multiple affairs or whatever, what makes you think that if they're a sinner, they're never going to stop sinning and they're going to start conforming so you'll feel better and won't get offended all the time? Good night. Can I kind of just say, this is crazy. We project our standards onto the world and expect a broken world to conform to our Christian standards. We say we live in America. It's a Christian nation. America was founded on Christian principles, yes. But I'm just telling you, not everybody in America is a Christian. And I understand. I'd love for people to have a little better life. But I got to be honest with you. As long as you allow free will, and as long as you think you can govern people by having government garbage, you're going to have even more people pushing and acting a fool. We can size someone up and write them off because of this behavior. We can say basically is they're not worth anything. We just size them up and write them off. The sad part is that imagine if God shared your thinking. Imagine if you were the problem at one point in your life. Maybe you lived a sinful life for 30 or 40 years. Maybe that life was full of addiction. And can you imagine if God would have written you off? Just sized you up and said, this guy will never change. Can you imagine if God got offended every time someone sinned? Wow. Holy smokes. And I'm telling you, Jesus never gave up on people. And mostly, when he dealt with people who could have offended him, most often it was the ignorance and the put off, offended Pharisees. The religious leaders. That's who gave Jesus the worst time. Which leads me to this self-examining thought. And I want to share it before I move on to the last of our 5 points this morning. Okay? Could your tendency to be offended all the time actually be pride? Pride to think that you're always right and therefore have the full understanding, the full ability to see through and know enough to always know what's best for everybody else. You don't tolerate that from other people. Why do you expect people to tolerate it from you? Just a thought, just a question. Stop being offended at every turn. You may have to even turn off your favorite news channel. So forgive others, and stop, for gracious sake, stop this offendedness all the time. Engage truth. Don't just say truth to other people. Engage the truth for your life and live by God's truth. So last is D, but first we have take time away. Include others. Rehearse God's faithfulness. Engage the truth. And then last and not least, defend your space. Defend your space. Don't let trash in your house, your spiritual house. You need to guard your heart, especially when you're hurting. Proverbs 4:23 says, guard your heart, for out of it come all of the issues of life. They say that sometimes the best defense is a good offense. So let's go on the offensive where it really counts, in our thinking, in our ability to love and not get offended all the time. But finding a way to actually process the information you hear from other people and actually allow yourself to change as you engage with that truth. 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 5, Paul writes these words, for though we walk in the flesh, we are not waging war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not of flesh and blood, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God. And here it is. Here is the action item of your mind. Here is the defend your space. Guard your heart. Here it is. Ready? Take every thought captive to obey Christ, being ready to punish disobedience when your obedience is complete. Yep, that's right. Punish your disobedience. Go to God and say, I'm sorry. Make sure you understand that you are going to turn away from it. You're going to repent from your disobedience. Let me say real quick, and I know I've given you a lot here, and I apologize. But one of the things about taking thoughts captive, and you can go back and list this a few times and write this down. It's kind of like the 3 questions we've been talking about. This is another one of those I think that's just so key to taking thoughts captive and for living in God's will. Okay? I call it the ACT. Okay? I call it the ACT, all right? So, I'm sorry, CCA. Wow. ACT is another one. I got too many 3-letter items in my brain. CCA, like cold cranking amps on a battery. So the first C is capture. Capture the thought. When the thought begins, capture it. Say, hey, what are you saying? What are you doing? What's going on? And then secondly, compare it to the truth. So let me give you an illustration, okay? Let's say you're offended, and all of a sudden you begin to think the Democrats or the Republicans or whoever you don't like, they'll never change. They always want what they want, and they're never going to change, all right? Well, that ain't true, I guess, because I've seen people jump to both parties all over time. You know, I mean, it happens, okay? But let's just say you capture the thought, I think everybody that's on such and such side is just an idiot. And you compare that to the truth. The truth is that for God so loved the world that whosoever, and you know the person you think is an idiot is whosoever. Do you realize Jesus died for your idiot? So you capture the thought, you compare it to truth. And then, after you compare it to truth, you then act accordingly. Capture, compare, act. Capture, compare, act. Capture, compare, act. When you do that with your thinking, you'll find yourself not falling into the pitfalls of sinful behavior. And see, you think sinful behavior is doing something immoral. Well, let me tell you what you do that's immoral, okay? You write people off. because you've sized them up and say they're not worth anything. Whether Democrat, Republican, whether they're black or white or, whatever. Wherever they came from, when you size people up and write them off, you have stopped loving people. And let me tell you something. If you're going to defend your space, you need to learn that when you stop loving people, you have set the gates down and you have allowed your heart to be flooded with a bunch of trash. It's like taking garbage bags and setting them in your living room and letting it rot while you're watching television and you're trying to eat popcorn, but you can't stand the stench. When you're unwilling to love others the way God asks you to love them, you're not defending your space. Listen, when you're in a position that you're not examining your own life, you're not picking up the garbage and getting it out of your heart and mind, you truly are making your life susceptible to finding garbage show up in your front room. I'm just telling you. Let me tell you, you may have to stop watching your favorite podcast to let this one happen. Because some of these podcasters, some of these newscasters, some of these even Christian places that are teaching and preaching, they are teaching you to hate people not like you. And when they teach you to hate people not like you, to think that God will never change them, you need to do something about them and fix them, then you think you're the agent God uses to change humans. You've forgotten it takes the Spirit of God to draw a person's heart to himself. And that you're only in the seeding business and the watering business. And that it is God that gives the increase. That's what Paul said. One seeds, one waters. One plants, one waters. But it's God that changes lives. And you think by your behavior, by your treating somebody certain ways, by cussing them, by calling them names, by treating them ways that are prejudicial, by doing those things, you're going to straighten them out. Yeah, I got it. Listen, you are in for an amazing letdown if you haven't already experienced it. See, this type of behavior, these type of programs, they just fuel the fire of anger and distrust and even hatred. And so we forget that Jesus died for every kind of person alive on the earth. Good morning, Sue Wrestler. And that's in your political, your spiritual, your social, and economic opinions. And they just might be impacting them so much that you can't change. And the group of people who feed you this help you stay disconnected, discontent. And therefore, they make you tired of people. The very thing you think is making you more mature, more smart, more savvy, more politically whatever, may actually be the source of what's making you tired of people. Wow. That's what's wearing you out. That's what's doing it, is because you're not defending your space and you're letting trash in. We were talking about computers yesterday. One of my volunteers, Miss Madge, who volunteers, those of you know Miss Madge, she said, in her computer class years ago, the phrase I use is GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. Garbage in, garbage out, okay? So when you let garbage in, all right, then that's all you're going to put out. If your podcast, if your news channel, if you're reading, if the books, if the magazines, if whatever you're reading on, the blogs, whatever it is, if it's teaching you to hate people, then you need to get it out of your life. You need to guard your space. Then how can you say you love God when you won't love people? How can you say you love God and you think you can size people up and write them off? When you're always looking for ways to exclude the very people God loves, John says to you this, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God. And whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. Anyone who does not know God, anyone does not love does not know God, because God is love. If anyone says, I love God and hates his brother, he is a liar. For he who does not love his brother, who does not love his brother, whom he has seen, cannot love God, who he has not seen." Tripping over my tongue on this one. Let me read that again. For he who does not love his brother, whom he has seen, cannot love God, whom he has not seen. And this commandment we have from him: whoever loves God must love one another, and he must love his brother. Whew, that's too close, but it's true. So take time away, include others in your burden, rehearse God's faithfulness, engage truth, defend your space, and you'll find yourself less tired and more loving. So don't forget also, take the question of the day. Sleep is a necessity of life. Without it, you'll crash. So tell me, what's your normal bedtime? How many hours of sleep do you get on the average night? I get about 7 hours on the average. Comment down below and let me tell you, and tell me, okay? So have a fabulous Friday, a wonderful weekend. And until next week, may I say for now, bye-bye.